84% of marketers that were surveyed agreed that direct mail does provide the highest ROI of any channel that they use. So when you're thinking about your cost to acquire a customer, time and again, 84% are saying that direct mail sees that highest conversion rate. I think in part, this is tied to the fact that you're able to send out trigger direct mail. So through batch leads, you can design your pieces, you can trigger them out, and you can kind of see through the workflow of where they are in production with USPS.
Thank you all so much for joining us today for Mastering Direct Mail Expert Strategies for Marketing Success. I want to introduce Stephanie Harhouse, who is the Director of Strategic Alliances at Lob, and Julia Lubbett, who is the Senior Strategic Account Manager at Lob. And these ladies are the absolute direct mail experts, and I'm so excited for them to share with us today new strategies they found, and they have a new survey that went out. So I'm really excited to have you here, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Amy, and thanks everyone for joining today. As Amy shared, Julia and myself are both with Lob, and so we are excited today to be sharing a little bit more insight into mastering direct mail expert strategies for your direct mail success within your real estate needs. So kicking us off, as Amy shared, we are here to provide a little bit of insights into what are some of the trends, what are some of the insights that we're seeing within the direct mail space. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off by sharing a little bit about our state of direct mail. So annually, Lob does work with several different industry experts and insights to be able to get additional insights into what we're seeing within the direct mail trends. So, firstly, the very first thing I want to cover is why direct mail still matters. So, the very first thing is on average, direct mail has a much longer consideration window than other digital channels. So, typically, we'll see that the direct mail curve is actually 13 weeks. If you think about picking up a piece of when a postcard or when you pick up your mail, sometimes you'll see something that catches your eye, you'll put it on your desk, you'll hold on to that piece, and on average, it's about 13 weeks that it tends to have that influence. We tend to see the highest engagement actually between 5 to 7 weeks within that curve, but again, really long consideration window. The other part is it gets noticed, right? So 90% of advertising mail is opened. And when you're talking about kind of, the impact that you're going to have with the recipient and the engagement, you have a much higher likelihood that that postcard that they receive, that letter that they receive is going to be noticed. And then lastly, direct mail really boosts an omni-channel performance. So when you tie it into your digital trends, if you're sending out SMS or if you're sending out, cold calling and you combine it with those strategies, there's actually an increase of about 63% that we have noted goes into that. So really, really high influence of combining everything and kind of digging into that a little bit more. So in our state of direct mail, there's kind of 6 key things that our executive summary put aside and found through our insights. So, we are seeing that direct mail proves to be the highest ROI of any channel that is being used. So digging into the very first one, ROI, right? Everyone wants to know, what is your return on investment on the piece of mail that you're sending? And so 84% of marketers that were surveyed agreed that direct mail does provide the highest ROI of any channel that they use. So when you're thinking about your cost to acquire a customer, time and again, 84% are saying that direct mail sees that highest conversion rate. And what's really great about that is if you compare it to automation software uses versus not, we're seeing that within that automation piece, you are able to see even more so. I think in part, this is tied to the fact that you're able to send out trigger direct mail. So through batch leads, you can design your pieces, you can trigger them out, and you can kind of see through the workflow of where they are in production with USPS. All right, so conversions. The second piece is that personalized URLs are actually the most popular way to be able to measure conversion. So over here on the right-hand side, we'll notice that there's a couple different ways to measure conversion. There's no wrong way as long as, you're kind of seeing, okay, where is that conversion coming from? But personalized URLs seem to be just slightly above individual customer activity as to that tracking. So another piece that's really important here is that 64% report that they use multi-touch attribution. So we'll notice that we have 22% for first touch and 14% for last touch. So I do want to note that the 14% that we're seeing for last touch is actually a great number, because these are maybe the recipients that you reached out to a couple of times to try to get some engagement and they were able to convert. And so kind of digging further into it. So as we shared a little bit, we are seeing trends that show that direct mail is actually increasing year over year. That sweet spot tends to be about the 1 million to 5 million mark that we're seeing. Of course, financial services and banking and telecom are sort of some of the bigger ones that we tend to see, but real estate is really increasing a lot. And I'm happy to dig into, more of these stats and details, but one of the things that we're seeing consistently across the board is that there is growth and interest in direct mail. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Julia to share a little bit about how to win in the mailbox.
Thanks, Stephanie. And thank you all for joining today. Direct mail is probably my favorite media channel to talk about. So I'm thrilled to kind of take you through the themes, some of the best practices for direct mail, and really like how to win the mailbox, right? Like how do we interrupt the clutter? So let's dive in. The first area that I want to talk about is maximizing your direct mail potential. There are 3 themes that we're going to go through today. I'm going to talk to you about it at a very high level, and then we're going to show you what it looks like in action. It's really important that you earn the time that you take. Going back to something that Steph said on the last page is, hey, the moment the person receives that piece of mail, they're going to walk to their trash can and they're going to look at that piece of mail over the trash can. You've got about 3 seconds to catch their attention by really targeting them with, a visually compelling image that represents who they are, where they are in their life right now, making sure that you're breaking away from conventional expectations, making sure that you're unique, you stand out, you're earning the time that you take, streamlining the value add. It's really important that you make sure that the moment that somebody begins to read your direct mail format that they've received, whether it be a letter, a postcard, or a self-mailer, whatever it is, that you're targeting their pain point. Why is it important that Amy engage with your brand or your product or your offering right now? What pain point are you going to solve for them? And then driving intentional interaction. Direct mail is typically considered or, focused on a bottom of the funnel engagement and, response. However, how does a brand extend that interaction beyond just that direct mail piece? What does that look like? And how do we keep that engagement going even after they've already engaged with you, your product, your offering, your brand? Now, we're going to dive into a little bit more direct mail best practices. These are some of direct response techniques that we've seen used decade over decade. And I am very excited to take you to the next page, which is, perfect. The 5 elements that every direct mail piece should have. And these look different in different formats. We want to start with the visual first. The visual aid that basically should resonate with the recipient. And the cool thing is that you can make these to where they can change out based on who you're targeting, get that personalization a little bit deeper. Obviously, you don't want to get too big brother-ish, but you definitely want to be able to recognize that you know who you're talking to. You can resonate with that person. The caption, making it snappy and making sure that it represents your brand, product, but most importantly, your audience. Because again, your audience is who you're targeting, and this message is about them. Headlines. This is a really important piece because people read headlines 5 times more than they do the body copy. So again, you've got about 3 seconds to 5 seconds to capture somebody's attention. And so making sure that you've got that visual, that caption, and that headline real strong, snappy, and it resonates with the recipient based on what you know about them. Copy, making sure that you're using bold face type. It's designed to ensure that when I'm reading a piece of mail that I know how to read the piece of mail. You're guiding me through my journey from beginning to end. And then a signature. I think that real estate agents do a really good job at adding a signature. It's very personalized. It makes people feel like they have somebody on the other side that knows who they are. So that's a best practice that can be used across multiple formats. And now we're going to dive in really quickly to see how it shows in a letter package. These are the best in market right now. They do a really great job at highlighting the offer or the value add, They do a great job at streamlining the value add by showing testimonials or awards that they've received. Why are they a trusted brand? Why should you trust them? Simply Safe has a compare chart here. That is a direct response best practice that I highly recommend if you have data available to you about the competition that you can add into your direct mail piece, your email, your display ad. Across the board, that works to be able to show, how do you compare to the competition? Why should I choose you over someone else? All right. And then what's trending now? So we're going to dive into QR codes a little bit. As we know, back in the day, QR codes would be on direct mail pieces and nobody either knew how to engage with them or wanted to engage with them. And quite frankly, the content that was included on the QR codes really wasn't anything worth engaging with. I think that marketers have gotten significantly more intelligent with how they engage with their recipients, and they know that the content that is shared with the recipient needs to be something that has earned the time that they're taking. And so we've seen a huge increase. Obviously, COVID was a culprit of this, but we're not mad about it at all because 34% looks pretty good in 2023, and we're only seeing it continue to soar. And so when you're thinking about using the QR codes and you're going to add them to your mailers, again, like, how are you going to do that? How are you going to have an elevated look and feel? Will you have a QR code that represents your brand? Maybe it's your logo. Maybe it's something a little bit more fun that relates more to the person, like, a Valentine's Day heart, as we see here in this piece. And then just thinking, beyond traditional use cases for just pushing recipients to learn more. You can actually have them engage on a different level. So Humana does a great job with allowing people to scan to chat live. Hey, you've received this piece. Rather than sending you to a form for you to fill out or complete information that maybe you haven't completed already, go straight to a live agent that can start asking or answering your questions now. Again, it goes back to that we need to remove the amount of steps it takes to get to the end, and Humana did a great job here. And then leveraging those interactive moments. So we were talking earlier about how do we continue to interact with our recipients beyond just that moment we send them the direct mail piece, or even beyond when they have responded or actually, purchased or moved forward with our brand offering. How do we continue to find beneficial reasons for them to continue the conversation? So, credit cards do a really great job of this, scanning to download the app. There's going to be a lot of things on the app that a Discover credit card holder can engage with. Maybe it's different features and benefits that you have with the app. Maybe they're going to send notifications about some really cool things that are going on with your Discover account. And so those are, just some ways to think about, how do I continue the conversation, even if they're not ready to purchase right now? And, just thinking about that, Amy, obviously the space that you're in, real estate space, you have a lot of customers that are in that space. Have you noticed any themes within the QR code space?
I'm so glad that you brought that up. So this is kind of a funny little thing that we did recently for Batch Leads. So recently, Batch Leads and Batch Service as a whole did a direct mail campaign to our customers to introduce our 6x9 postcards. Previously, we only had 4x6. Now we are doing 6x9 postcards. And this is kind of a fun little take on it. The really cool thing here is that this photo right here is a photo of the property. So when a property owner is receiving your postcard, you can have the option to add the photo of their property to the postcard. Additionally, we included a picture. This isn't directly integrated into Batch Leads just yet. Again, that is coming in Q4, but we did include a QR code on the back so that we are able to track that stuff. And actually, this webinar will be available on that QR code as soon as the webinar is over. So kind of a fun little fact, but yeah, that's something fun that we've done recently. So really quickly, for those of you who don't know what Batch Leads is, it is an all-in-one lead generation, evaluation, and marketing tool for real estate professionals. This kind of takes you from soup to nuts. You're able to narrow down exactly who you're looking for, the type of property owners that you want to reach. You're able to look at them, evaluate them, find the ones that are going to be most likely to either work with your services or sell their property, or, cash buyers essentially. And we've got marketing tools as well. We've got click to dial, we've got direct mail. It's all for real estate professionals. So again, identifying motivated sellers. We've got more than 150 data filters, absentee owners, tired landlords, high equity, For sale by owner is something that we just introduced. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely check it out. Uncovering property owner contact info is also really huge. So, we have some of the highest skip tracing, not even just hit rates and match rates, but accuracy, the right party contact information in the market. And then again, we can reach out to leads with direct mail and in-app click to dial. So that said, we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So Bernard asks, are there best practices for frequency of mailings? In other words, how do we develop a contact strategy?
What we've learned historically works best is making sure that you're touching somebody at least 4 times, ideally about 3 weeks apart. If you're going to do a multi-channel strategy, so you're going to include SMS and email, you want to make sure that your direct mail piece hits typically 2 to 3 weeks after that hits, each of those hit. Or maybe you send an SMS out that says, hey, check your mailbox for a special, event that's going on, or, a special update about your home. So that way you're able to target them multiple times. The reality is that the best way to learn what works for you and in your company is to test it.
Oscar asks if there's a way to automate the postcards to a specific list. So if you want to target foreclosures in an area and something new comes out, then you automate the postcard. That is something we are definitely looking into, because that is a really cool feature that I think would be great for our customers. So not currently, but stay tuned. It's something that we're definitely looking into for the future. Question for you ladies. Is it better to send letters like the ones Julia showed, or to do postcards for real estate work?
Both work. Would recommend testing. I can be completely transparent to tell you that letters typically have a longer staying power. They usually will remain a control for a business for significantly longer than a postcard. That doesn't mean that a postcard can't. So I would just recommend testing to see what works best for your company.
I think I'll also add with the new 6x9 offering, because it is a little bit larger. If you're thinking about when you're picking up that mail, you're going to have the letter sizes. The 6x9 is going to stand out a little bit more. So it might also capture the attention. To Julia's point, right? There's really no one way or another. It really just depends on the testing and capturing that recipient's attention.
Would you recommend letters for foreclosures, 6x9 or what? Foreclosures could be interesting just because I know they're probably looking through their mail a lot. If they get a postcard, it might send a different message. So a letter actually might be a better idea for pre-foreclosures. Don't quote me on that. Again, it's best to test everything out yourself. A/B test it, different QR codes on different things, different phone numbers, different, URLs, whatever's gonna, get those answers for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was such a great webinar. Stephanie, Julia, thank you so much for your expertise. Super valuable. And it sounds like everybody got a lot out of this today. So I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you soon.